Welcome to the very first episode of the Rentrepreneur Podcast. In this show, it's all about pulling back the curtains on entrepreneurship, what it really takes to build something from nothing. In this podcast, I sit down with high-level entrepreneurs from all walks of life, digging into the mindset, the strategies, and the sacrifice behind the empires they built. This isn't just about wins and highlight reels. Listen, we are going deep. We're going into the pivots, the pressures, the late nights, and the big decisions that shape their journey. So if you're someone who's building, if you're someone who's growing, or even just dreaming, this podcast is here to fuel you to that next level. And to kick things off, I couldn't think of a better guest.
I was working 2 jobs as a personal trainer, running nightclub events and selling supplements to all my clients.
Wow.
And I was making it then about 10 grand a month UK, which is about 12, 13 US. As a 20-year-old college student, there's more than doctors, lawyers were earning. And I was like, this is like the power of entrepreneurship. Amazing. Every sport in the world, the pro athletes train every day. But if you want to grow your business, you only do marketing 10% of the time and you think you're going to grow it, it just doesn't make sense. It's like most people have a bad money mindset. They're scared to spend money, and if they spend a couple of grand, they like scurry away scared with their tail between their legs. I lose money all the time. I hire shitty employees that lose me money. I pay a celebrity 100 grand to do a project that doesn't work. Like, you're gonna lose money. Don't be afraid of testing and losing money, and don't think about it as like I lost money. Think about it as I paid some money, it didn't work, and I'm gonna keep trying. Because you can fail 10 times with ads and products and waste 2 grand here, 2 grand there, but one that works can make you $1 million. You're gonna achieve results in life not based on your skill, but on your perception of reality. Most people think there's these secrets I'm gonna teach them on the structure of the ads. It's nothing about that. It's actually super easy to do that. It's all about the...
Today, we have a special guest who isn't just a serial entrepreneur, but a true marketing genius. He's built multiple multi-million-dollar businesses, scale brands with some of the biggest names in the world. And not only that, he's mastered the art of digital marketing. Listen, you might know him as the guy behind Maurer Capital, or from his work with legends like Floyd Mayweather and Damon from Shark Tank. He is a visionary, a powerhouse when it comes to scaling businesses to 8 and 9 figures. I'm excited for this episode because he shares his insights on entrepreneurship, marketing, and building a lasting legacy. So without further ado, I bring you Rudy Maurer. Let's tap in. Rudy Maurer, what's going on, man?
Good to see you, man. Good to be here. Much.
Appreciate you being here, brother. Man, listen, just before we even get into it, because we're here right now at your studio.
Yeah.
I had an amazing tour. You have just amazing setup here. That's one of the things I kind of study. When I go into studios, I kind of see what the setup is like, because trust me, I'm always learning. I'm always learning for sure. So, but kind of give us just a, intro, just in your background, your upbringing.
Sure.
What got you into entrepreneurship, but even more importantly, what got you into marketing?
Yeah. So from the UK, didn't grow up with money, grew up in a small town, but my parents were pro athletes. So they were training a lot. My dad was the team manager for the triathlon Olympic team, and my mom was an age group gold medalist in triathlon, and my dad was a good athlete too. So I think I saw that you could achieve whatever you wanted in life if you worked hard. They were training 3 times a day and having a part-time job and taking care of me. And I was an only child, so I was very independent. So I always had these side hustles as a kid. I was born entrepreneur. And I actually bought my first real estate property at 19. Wow. I created a personal training company at 17 and grew that. And then wanted to move to America because that was where all the big entrepreneurs were. So I got a degree in sports science because I grew up in sport. Moved to America, did a master's degree here in exercise and nutrition science. Grew a fitness company to about 8 million in sales in my mid-20s. Then grew a big agency. We did about 200 million in sales for our clients. And then about 5 years ago, I wanted to go back into my own products instead of just other people's stuff. Nice. I grew my own brand in the last 5 years. We have a holding company now called More Capital, and my Red personal brand. We have about 8 companies under the umbrella. We've done, tens of millions in that company every year. We work with a lot of big celebrities, have TV shows, obviously have 4 studios here in Miami Beach. You have about 90 employees around the world, and That's a summary.
My goodness, Rudy. Listen, To my understanding, what I looked into when I studied you a little bit, man, you started selling items at a young age off of eBay. Is that true?
Yeah. So I mean, I was selling in school, and I would have I'd have my parents go to like Sam's Club and buy candy. I would put them in
Yeah.
sandwich bags and sell them. And then I learned eBay, right? And I think I was 9 years old. And my dad brought home this big computer because he needed it for his triathlon work because he was the manager, right? And
Yeah.
email just started then. This was 25 years ago.
Wow.
Brings this big computer home, and I don't know how I learned this, but I figured out eBay, and I went on there and I started ordering stuff from China in big boxes. So it'd be like bracelets or toys, whatever was in trend that month for the kids, right, in the school. And I would get them from China, and then I'd split them out just like the candy, and I'd go in and sell them. And then I had a friend that worked at a game store, computer game store, and he got 50% off all the games. So I'd have him buy all the games, and then I would relist them at 90% of the price, right? So like PlayStation 2 games, they were always £40 when they came out. I'd list them at £37 and they'd sell instantly because they held their price when 100%. They launched, right? And I was getting them for 20.
Wow.
So I was making, 50% basically. And I learned through that marketing. I didn't know it. I was 12, 13 years old at the time. But I learned like copywriting, so I'd change the headline and split test, and I'd try different descriptions and photos. And it's kind of funny now looking back. That's what we do in marketing. Yeah. But anyway, so I did all that, and then I built a gaming community. I had teams, sponsors, and I was about 14. And then I got into personal training at 17 and nightclub events, basically anything I could do.
Wow. You know what's crazy? I remember two very distinct times growing up that really feel like that shaped my entrepreneurship mindset. One was when I first moved to this country from Nigeria. I was 8 years old.
Wow.
A year later, at 9 years old, I was in the third grade, and I started, because I had a love for art and I was drawing. So I got really immersed with Marvel characters. Spider-Man was my favorite character, and Dragon Ball Z. And I would draw these characters and just have my mom make copies of them at work and just sell these pictures for a quarter in elementary school. And I would always sell out whenever I would go to school to sell these pictures. And that was kind of my first taste in entrepreneurship. But more importantly, what you just said in the story that you gave about, in a way, you probably didn't even realize it, but you were in a sense wholesaling these because you're getting them for 20.
Yeah.
They're cheaper than what they usually get. You get them for these games for 20. You sell them for 35, but they retail for what, 50, 60. So
40, yeah.
You know, the art of wholesaling is leaving enough meat on the bones to see that for your end buyer to know that it's a good deal. And I'll tell you, when I got into college, I was trying to put myself through school because I was the first in my family to go to college. Wasn't necessarily fortunate enough to have family to able to pay for school, so I put myself through school. And my first job in college was working at Foot Action. But I started making money three ways at this Foot Action. Your story reminded me of one of the ways I was making money. Every month, they would discount all the Jordan and Nike apparel in the store. So these Jordan shorts, and at the time, these Jordan shorts and Nike shorts were it. They were popping.
Yeah.
And they would discount them, just to get rid of them, to make room for the new line. So they'll discount them 50%. And then I would add my employee discount of 35% on top of that. So these shorts that retail for $60, I'm picking up from $10, sometimes $5, depending, $15 at the most sometimes. And I will clean up our entire store, take them to the campus, because I was a U of H, a University of Houston student. I take them to the dorm rooms at U of H, and I will sell them for $35, $40, because they retail for $60.
Yeah.
And so in a way, I was wholesaling these Jordan shorts as well, and these Nike and Jordan apparel. And that was really, really I feel like that really kind of got the entrepreneurship mindset going for me, for sure. So that's crazy. Very, very similar story on that. That's amazing, bro.
Yeah, I remember there's one point of time I remember I was sat in my dorm room. I was a year one student, right? And 20 at the time or something. And most of the kids aren't even working, right? They just take a student loan. Maybe their parents give them a bit of money for food. And I was working 2 jobs as a personal trainer, running nightclub events and selling supplements to all my clients. Wow. And I was making it then about 10 grand a month UK, which is about 12, 13 US as a 20-year-old college student. And this, I was just looking at my bank account and I was like thinking of all the things I could buy, know, because it was so much money at the time. And I was probably 20 years old. And I was like, this is like the power of entrepreneurship, amazing. Because earning 10 grand a month in the UK, in the city I was from, there's more than doctors, lawyers were earning. It's crazy money 15 years ago in the UK.
Wow. Amazing, amazing. I want to kind of, because you touched on this too, the kind of red line, your theme. It's the red life, the theme. Your brand is known for its distinctive kind of the red theme. What does that red life represent? How does it reflect kind of your personal and professional ethos?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of fell into it and then developed it, and that's, I think, key in entrepreneurship. Everyone thinks you have this grand plan, but I sit with a lot of billionaires and famous people, and most of them don't have a plan. They fall into these things and kind of follow the wind, right? So it's the same with me. I had an agency that was all blue and branded. I stepped out of it, appointed a CEO to regrow my personal brand. And I actually started this brand, the Lion's Head, which was the logo we chose because it's like what everyone chooses for capital, like holding companies for some reason. We actually was blue when we first made it, and I said, no, let's not make it the same as my other company. Let's go red because it's my favorite color. And in marketing, people say don't use red because it's like warning and attention. But my whole life, I've done the opposite of what everyone tells me to do and what most people do. And I think marketing is all about getting attention and standing out. 100%. So I said, I'm going to go all red. And it wasn't as crazy as this when we started. It was a few red accents and chairs. And I wore a red hoodie. That was it. No red hair, no red anything. But I kept going to events and seeing people that had known me for 5-10 years. And they were like, Rudy, I love the new personal brand, the red, the backdrop. It's so good. So I just kind of kept building it and listening to feedback and following the wind, and eventually it became this whole personal brand and podcast, and now everyone kind of knows me as the man. Actually Floyd Mayweather was the one that gave me the name, the Man in Red. Yeah, that's why he'd call me when I was with him.
Wow.
And I was like, and then people on stage started saying the Man in Red, and that kind of became the name.
That's if anybody's gonna stamp you as the Man in Red, a co-sign from Florida.
Well, it's funny because he gave me that on the same day, and he also said you got to be careful in LA where you wear red. And I didn't even, I'm British, so I didn't even know what he was on about. So he had to educate me on that.
Oh,
I'm like, okay, now I know.
Yes, I'm glad he educated you on that.
I didn't have a clue what, So,
No, that's crazy. Okay, so kind of, because one thing that I know is really important to you as well as fitness. Listen, I was here, we were pumping the iron on the bench press earlier before we started the show. In the red theme, gym and all that. Your journey in fitness, I mean, it's very important to you. Your journey began in fitness and evolved into kind of this digital marketing thing and business consulting. So what that transition, what kind of prompted that transition? How did your background in fitness kind of influence what you got?
Well, my parents were in sport, so I always knew I would get into sport. I love sport. I did it at school, and then I went to college for sports science. But I didn't, there's not a good, I became a personal trainer at 17, and it's a grind. You're up at 6 a.m. and you're trading time for money. And as an entrepreneur or someone entrepreneurial, I would read these books like the 4-Hour Work Week and all these personal development books, and you'd learn, hey, don't ever trade your time for money, which was the opposite of exactly what personal training is. It's like you get paid per hour. So I started to learn I can't keep doing this. So that's when I had supplements, and I started selling supplements to my clients. And then I started going, well, how do I build a fitness course or online programs to not trade my time for money and take my programs and sell them to millions of people? And I tried it in England, didn't really understand marketing or ads or social media. I spent 6 months building a course, paid a big corporate UK website company to build me this big corporate website. They built the websites for the big brands in the UK, spent crazy money on it, and it made 0 sales because I didn't know marketing back then. Fast forward a few years later, I moved to America and really learned marketing, podcasts, took courses, launched more courses, and I scaled that to millions of dollars, selling a $19 fitness product. We sold 100,000 copies or close to that. Had people all around the world, sold out events in Australia, the UK, America. That's how I learned marketing, honestly. And it was self-taught. We were spending 10, 20 grand a day on Facebook ads. And this was, 10 years ago.
So put some people on game when it comes to these ads, because they can be tricky. So as an expert, as somebody that does run Facebook ads and funnels and things like that, what are some kind of common mistakes
Sure.
businesses make when, kind of in their digital marketing strategies, and
Yeah.
how can they avoid these mistakes?
It is a lot of things. So, I mean, we've scaled ad accounts, my own and companies I've co-owned, up to 300 grand a day. So we've spent some of the biggest spend in this industry. And we've done it for, we've spent money for hundreds of our own brands and clients. And the few common things I would say that fall into everyone. Number one, it's mindset. I always teach it before ads. It's like most people have a bad money mindset. They're scared to spend money. And if they spend a couple of grand, they like scurry away scared with their tail between their legs. But I lose money all the time. I hire shitty employees that lose me money. I start new funnels and spend money building it all and products that don't work. I pay celebrity 100 grand to do a project that doesn't work. Like, you're going to lose money. So don't be afraid of testing and losing money, and don't think about it as like I lost money. Think about it as I paid some money, it didn't work, and I'm going to keep trying, because you can fail 10 times with ads and products and waste 2 grand here, 2 grand there. But one that works can make you $1 million, right? So it's like, you got to be willing to lose a few grand here and there to make $1 million. So that's the first one. Number two, on mindset too, is I don't believe you have a proper business until you can run ads and scale, because a lot of people have businesses where they get referrals and a bit of organic. I'm like, that ain't a business. It's like random, right? It's like you're randomly depending on someone else to send you clients. It's not your own business,
Yeah.
So I think you've got to appreciate how important it is. And then the third one is the creatives, right? Most people think there's these secrets I'm going to teach them on the structure of the ads. It's nothing about that. It's actually super easy to do that. It's all about the creatives of the hook and making an ad that stands out.
Wow. Amazing. You've worked with multiple celebrities like Floyd Mayweather, Damon John. How do these collaborations come about?
Sure.
And, what did you learn from working with these people, like working with figures like that?
Yeah, I always wanted to work with these big people, because I kind of realized, hey, I have a playbook, I have a system, I know what to do. I'm making millions of dollars myself. Well, if I just work with people even more famous than me, I'll make even more millions, know? And sometimes that's true, sometimes it's not. And I've worked with even bigger people that I can't even say under NDAs, but I've worked with some of the biggest celebrities, like most famous people on the planet. And sometimes you make hundreds of thousands of dollars just because they're so famous, and sometimes it doesn't go as you plan. But working with these big people, the reason I like it is they all think big too. So that's the reason I transitioned. I used to work with smaller businesses, and you'd scale them, and half the time they'd pull back because they were scared. They're not ready for the growth. The good thing about someone like Floyd or Damon is they've already made hundreds of millions. So they ain't out there to make 2 million here or there. It's like, if it ain't making millions and millions and millions or tens of millions, it's not really an interest to them. So I always try and be with those people, because I think that's so important, to just keep elevating your standards and expectation of reality, what you can achieve and what you want to achieve. I always say you're going to achieve results in life not based on your skill, but on your perception of reality, right? So if you only think you can make 2 million, you're only ever going to make 2 million. Wow. If you're hanging out with a bunch of people making 20 million, then you'll probably start working towards that yourself.
100%. I remember when I first started my real estate journey, I was so focused on one thing. That was income. That was cash flow. I ignored the part that may seem boring, but is just as important, which was bookkeeping. And listen, when I tell you, I do not want you to be like me. If I can go back, I definitely would have hired a bookkeeper from day one. This is why I am recommending for you to look into Kappa Financial. Listen, if I can go back, I would have hired Kappa from day one. They do all the heavy lifting. They customize their service to fit your business, and their pricing is super affordable. Listen, take it from me. So don't make the same mistake I did. Book a free consultation call with Kappa. The info is in the description. That is so key. And the way you've grown, man, it's amazing. Now, one thing that is also kind of changing, and we're seeing it change and kind of change the marketscape, is AI. What are you currently doing with AI in your business? Are you using AI? And in what capacity? How are you adding value to what you do?
We're doing a lot with AI. I mean, actually, when AI kind of blew up and came out a couple of years ago, mainstream, we had courses on it, programs on it. We've had over 150,000 businesses through our AI program and courses and live trainings. We used to host big live virtual events. The most people I had registered was 50,000 people for one live event on Zoom. Yeah, and we were teaching AI. And really I'm not like this big AI expert. I'm just like, I think I'm pretty creative and that I can, I'm pretty technical. So I just started using it for me. I was playing around with it, going, how can we use it for landing pages? How can we use it for legal contracts? How can we use it for design? How can we use it for proposals? And I mean, I probably used it 4 times today. I'll give you an example. As we were sitting down about to record this, one of the celebrities I work with, they have these press interviews for a skincare line I'm launching with a celebrity, and they were asking for a press announcement. They're like, quick, we need it now, we're on with the press. And I just put it in AI and it writes it out because it already has the profile saved, and I literally texted them as we were about to sit down.
Wow.
Another one was, had this for one of my TV shows, have a client, a famous person that wants to be on it. I sent them our standard agreement. Their attorney was a pain in the ass and gave 100 edits. And I was like, I don't want to go to my law firm and wait a week for them to do it. It's just going to slow everything down. I might lose the deal. So I copied the contract. I copied this attorney's 12, 15 bullet point edits. And I said, make all these changes.
Nice.
Voila. And then I said, now tell me all the changes you made so I can check you didn't miss anything. And it bullet pointed how it changed each clause. And I read it, and this isn't legal advice. You probably should hire an attorney, but I've done contracts for 10 years now. Like, I know it pretty well. And it did it pretty well. So it's like, there's so many use cases like that,
100%.
to speed things up and get stuff done more. And copywriters, we used to have 9 copywriters. Now we have 2, because the 2 use AI and they can do the work of 9.
Wow.
AI for design too. We're filming a TV show right now. We have a bunch of NBA athletes. Well, you're not allowed the NBA jerseys because they're all copyrighted. They're owned by Nike, Reebok, the brands. You'd have to get written permission. I'm not trying to do that with all these. So for the movie posters and the cover art, we take the celebrity and then we have AI remake it without the logos on the jersey, right? Just little things like that. But it's,
Clutch. That is amazing. Now they, I mean, right now, it just seems like if you're really not tapped in, you're to AI. And I feel like I should be using it a lot more in my business, outside of kind of the surface level stuff that most business people definitely use it. So I'm probably going to pick your brain on more AI stuff.
We had Damon John in yesterday. We filmed his AI avatar. So we filmed Damon on one of my studios, white background. And now we create AI Damon. So whenever we need to do ads with him or product stuff, we don't have to get him back in the studio. We just we have access. And we do that with all our celebrities, because that's the big bottleneck with the celebrities is, hey, we need to film, and they're flying, they're busy, now we just create, the first time we meet them, we film some ads and content, and then we film the AI avatar. And then we create and then we can just do whatever we need from now on.
And the avatar will be talking, having a conversation.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. You can't even tell. We send it to them and their team. Well, there's one famous boxer, not Floyd, another one, I can't say who. We showed his wife the AI avatar and then a real video. And we said, tell us which one it is. She couldn't tell us.
She couldn't tell?
Couldn't tell us.
That's special. We've came a long way. My goodness.
And we're only on the tip, right? Like, it's going to be crazy the next 10 years. Wow. This is like, people think AI is crazy now. It's like, I tell them we're like using the Nokia phones. Yeah. Like, this ain't the iPhone yet. You think we're crazy now? We're using a Nokia phone with AI.
Do you think we should be worried?
I don't know. I don't worry much about things in life because, like, people say that, like, ask me about politics. I only worry about things I can control.
Gotcha.
I can't, unless I'm running for president, I can't control politics. I'm not going to worry. My one vote isn't going to make a difference, and I'm not going to waste my time worrying about it. And with AI, unless I'm the head of AI for the US and can control it, I ain't going to change anything anyways. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen,
No, I actually share a very, very similar mindset. It's out of your control. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. Even like with the, during the election season, everybody's in an uproar, things are tense. It's just like, hey, vote for who you want, whatever happens, happens. And you go live your life. and go out and be productive. You know what I mean? Regardless of who's in office.
And one tip with AI, if you're worried, I say just always say please and thank you when you chat with it. And then that way, if it comes and kills you one day, it might remember you were nice to it. You know, you were polite. You might wait. You know, it might kill you last if it takes over.
Wow.
There's one joke I say. I always chat GPT. I'm like, thanks, that was great. Now can you do this? I'm more polite to chat GPT than I am my employees. That's what's funny.
That is hilarious. I might have to start doing that just in case.
It'll remembers everything. If you're rude to it, you're going down first. When it becomes the Terminator, you're on the hit list, you know?
Wow. You're working and you directed a documentary, Legacy Makers.
Yeah, we're shooting right now.
Beautiful. I mean, it's featuring a bunch of individual influencers, a lot of individual amazing people. That specific project, what inspired you to create that specific project?
So I think there's a need in the marketplace right now. So we have a whole studio and a network that's really my main focus and passion now. It's called Inside Success. And the idea is to really go inside what does success look like, Absolutely. Right? You know, we're actually, I have a meeting actually in 15 minutes with a big film director. We're producing some films this year that are business-orientated films that teach success. So, you know, like Social Network, The Founder, if you've watched those shows, they teach some parts of business because there's a big need for people wanting to develop themselves, right? You look at podcasts, they've blown up.
Yeah.
Why? Because people want to make their lives better. And you can go and get 1 million books, you can get 1 million audio books, you can go on 1 million podcasts, you can go on Instagram and get 1 million reels from Alex Hormozi and Grant Cardone and everyone on Being Better. How much TV can you get on Being Better? Not much. There's a gap in the marketplace and I want to fill it.
Yeah. No, I love that.
So to answer the question, I mean, that's the big picture, but to answer the question, we're interviewing, my goal is to interview 1,000 amazing people from all walks of life, everyday entrepreneurs that maybe aren't famous because they still have more relatable life lessons and stories, and they make up America, the American dream, 100%. Right? But then I want some, you know, everyone loves the celebrities. So I have NBA athletes, lots of pro athletes, Guinness World Record holders, billionaires, people like Damon John, best-selling authors, Brian Tracy, Floyd's doing, you know, so I want to tell their stories too in a way that, you know, it's like, oh, that's an interesting story about growing FUBU and Damon John, but there's lessons inside it as well.
Yeah. And when you hear stories, success stories like that, one thing I always love listening to when I hear success stories and see people like Damon, hear stories like Floyd's is literally every person that's gotten to where they are at a level that one would consider pretty successful, they're really standing on top of all their failures.
Of course.
They're standing on top of all their failures. And that is kind of the key. I like to learn how you overcame those failures, because that to me is one of the very, very crucial components in getting to where you want to be. Now, when it comes to like the rapid growth, we were here at your office. We've seen some of your staff chopped over with a few amazing people. Now, with you growing could be challenging. Now, how do you maintain the company culture in a place like this? You talked about all the employees that you got, multiple markets. We got the red thing going. How do you maintain the company culture throughout?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a constant battle. Like we have 90 staff. We actually had 110 2 years ago. We had 50 in Tampa. And I've kind of like, you know, there's a few things I've learned. Number one is the more extreme you are and like successful like I am, not everyone will fit and align with you. Yeah. And you have to get rid of them fast, right? Mm-hmm. So, you know, there's a lot of amazing staff and people love me, but there's also 50 or 100 we fired that hate me out there, you know, because they couldn't meet the standard or they didn't agree with the expectations and whatever, no hard feelings. Not. You know, I always say if you're trying to be the Navy SEALs of business, which I am, the best in the world, well, not everyone can make it through Hell Week, and not everyone can fight at that level and run the assault course. And that doesn't make you a bad person. It just makes you not a fit for me and my environment and my expectations and my energy. So for me, it's being accepting of that, because I used to try and make everyone an entrepreneur. I used to try and help all my employees to grow more and be more successful. And then when I grew to 100, I realized actually most of these guys don't even want this. They want to come in at 9, leave at 5, watch Netflix, go out there. And I'm like, so I just like, eventually I detached from it. And I'm like, okay, I got my killer Navy SEAL top guys, my top 10. They've been with me years. They're going to always be with me. They're growing. They're getting paid well. They're going to follow me wherever. And then after that, and, generally we do have great people, but a lot of them, they just want to work, So also understanding that, I think is important.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And I want to ask you another thing because we're going to let you go here in a second. Now, looking ahead, because you've accomplished a lot. You have some amazing connections, amazing relationships. You shot some amazing content. You're constantly shooting content. Looking ahead, what's kind of the goals for the next phase of your career? What are any new industries or projects you're excited to explore?
It's really the entertainment side. That's been like this big change in the last year. So I have a show on Amazon Prime, 60 Day Hustle. I actually fly at 6 a.m. tomorrow to film the finale of season 2.
Congratulations!
So that's going to be fun.
Amazing, bro.
And that really got me into it because I wanted to get into entertainment, and I was already starting to get into it with the celebrity partnerships, right? Because a lot of them were entertainers. But I loved creating content, and I really wanted to move full time into content. But I didn't want to just I already have two top 10 podcasts. But I was like, do I really want to have a big YouTube and just do Instagram and TikTok? Because it's like what everyone else does, right? So I'm like, what else could I do that's different? And I'm like, well, I've already got started in TV. I have all these celebrity connections. I can create really high level stuff. I have about 25 people in my video team, right? So I have a big video team because we do all the promos for the celebrities and my own brands and the podcasts. So I was like, I'm going to really go into TV. I think that's the next big thing. And movies, that's like a big, I've done the TV, kind of started in the last couple of years, so we're doing pretty well on that now. But the movies is like a cool thing. And I literally have a call with a big movie director in a minute. We spoke again last night. We're working on a few movies this year. I'm excited for that because I like challenges. I like I say I'm a bit delusional because I just think I can do anything. So I've gone from fitness to business to TV series. Now I'm going to start directing and producing movies, and I love the challenge,
Wow. And I'm going to ask you this last question. Just for you, where does, because there are different aspects to life. Obviously, we're talking business, we're talking finances, but how seriously do you take like a spiritual life? Does your spiritual life play a role into kind of everything that you got going on and your mindset as well?
Yeah, interesting. I'm not super religious.
Yeah.
A lot of people in England aren't. I see it a much bigger thing in America. I'm somewhere in the middle, right?
Yeah,
I think I do believe in things happen for a reason and all those things. I don't go to church every Sunday, for example, but I'm somewhere in the middle, I would say. It's not like I don't believe in God and things happening and heaven and hell and all those things, but I also, I wouldn't say I'm religious either. I'm somewhere in the middle, and like I said, I think because I'm came from this weird, I was a scientist too. The scientist part of me likes to see stuff and data, and then obviously the other half of me as an entrepreneur is I do believe that when you believe something's going to happen, it somehow happens, and these weird signals in life. So I have this weird two sides of the coin. Yeah. But I like that, because I do think that sometimes there's a mistake in life, not just in religion, but some people are so one-sided, they won't see the other side of the argument. And I've always been good at kind of seeing both sides and working with them.
Nah, I love that, man. Was any last advice for anybody that literally, when it comes to marketing, especially if they're looking to get started in their business, is there any kind of lasting advice?
Yeah. I mean, marketing's easy. Biggest thing I've learned in all the years is work on the big product, the hook, the unique selling point, what makes it stand out, and how do you differentiate yourself? That's half the battle if you do that well. And then just get obsessed with marketing and sales. Most entrepreneurs fail because they don't even, I ask them, I say, tell me how much % of your week do you spend on marketing? And they go 10%. I'm like, well, it's it should be 90%. You're not selling your product. So it's like going to if you want big biceps and you go, I train it once a week. I train arms once a week. I'm like, well, should you probably train it 5 times a week, right? So it's kind of like every sport in the world, the pro athletes train every day. But if you want to grow your business, you only do marketing 10% of the time, and you think you're going to grow it. It just doesn't make sense. So yeah, I think it's focus, and I think it's understanding how to position your product, and then it's traffic, ads, social media. It's so important. Most entrepreneurs think a good product sells itself. It doesn't. It's great marketing that sells a product.
Absolutely. They say if you don't have marketing, you don't have a business.
Yep.
No, listen, thank you so much, brother. This was amazing. Thanks for chopping it up with us. Thank you for everybody tuning in right now. This is another episode, or actually the first episode of the Rentrepreneur Podcast with my guy, Rudy. Stay tuned for the next one.
See you guys soon.